Well, I have worked twice with Fred Williamson, Fred the Hammer. Now, and I'm known as the Dragon. And when I was working with Fred, now I didn't know everything about his background. A mutual friend of ours, Suzanne, an actress, introduced us, and we began doing movies together. We did 2 movies. And I asked him, I said, you know, you've been called the Hammer. What is that? He showed me, and I said, let's put it in the fight scene when we fight. And so anyway, also the fight scene, which Fred, I'm going to let everybody know the secret. We have a stunt double for Fred to do the thinking that Fred doesn't want to hit the ground and roll around and put pads on. And he comes with his own set of pads and says, tell stunt double to go home. He's not going to do anything for me. He did we fought for at least 10, 12 hours, nonstop.
You knocked me in a hole, too.
Look, that's a choreographer, don't blame me. But anyway, he was great. He's a world champion human being as well as world champion, world-class NFL football player and world-class actor. So it was my privilege to work with Fred. Thank you.
I second the motion on all that.
Fred, when we get to you, you can talk about you.
Humble! I already did mine. Thank you.
Yeah, you're next, Vincent.
I'm next. You know what? Be quiet. Because I'm going to talk about you now. Oh, God.
Here we go.
Here we go. Now. Sorry. Well, Bobby and I were doing film in Hong Kong, and Michael Woods during what they call the golden age of Hong Kong cinema. And actually, the interesting thing is that Bobby and I, we were there relatively at the same time, except we never knew each other in Hong Kong. It had to take, how many more years? About that, before we before we actually met here in New York on a film, in fact, it's the first film ever done on high definition, right?
That's correct.
Yeah. And so this is an amazing individual. I love him very much. We both had our own route in the film world. And we'll talk about that a little later. I do want to mention something about this man. And I've reminded him twice before, and he says, no, I didn't do that. Back in around 80, I want to say 84, 85, I don't remember what year it was, but they had the U.S. Nationals in Orlando, and you were there, and this was at the pinnacle of your kickboxing fame.
Oh, 84 was my heyday.
Yeah.
Most people weren't born.
And he was giving some kickboxing seminars. And there must have been about 100 people taking the seminar. But at the end of it, Don said, okay, I'd like to, anybody who wants to, I'll spar with them for like, a minute and a half. So about 6 or 8 of us decided, okay, this is a great experience. So Don takes his shirt off. And he's like, muscles like rippling everywhere. And one by one, he kind of goes through us like, we're a tin of sardines. So I get in there, and he doesn't remember, but he threw this roundhouse kick. And the first one I actually luckily blocked. But then I dropped my guard, and he threw the second one, and he hit me right in the temple. And it's the first time ever I've actually seen like Tweety birds. And I was standing there. And he said, you want to continue? I said, no, I felt enough. I don't remember that.
No, I do not.
Well, you know why? Because you kicked so many people in the head that you lost count.
But I took about 10,000. I took about 10,000 shots myself. I fought from 74 to 2002, so that's 28 years of kickboxing.
So I just want to remind you that.
Okay, well, you got revenge on me now.
Okay, thank you.
They're both kickboxing champions. He's better.
Don's better. He's better at working with Jackie Chan, but Don's better at kickboxing.
So because I remember it still.
He's still seeing the birdies. Yeah.
Okay, for me, Vincent Lyn. Again, actually, my question is going to encompass a number of individuals here. But Vincent Lyn, like he's indicated, we didn't cross paths in Hong Kong. I worked with Sammo. I lived with Sammo Hong. And that was pretty much who I followed. So my career path, we were there at the same time, but we never crossed. Only until we got back to the United States. I had admired his work for many years. Finally, when I did get an opportunity to meet him, definitely wanted to work together, and we did. And we've been friends now for, what, 20 plus? Almost. So it goes on. I love him dearly. He's like my brother. This gentleman next to me, Mr. Fred the Hammer Williamson. There's levels to me wanting to be in the film industry. The first time I actually saw films that I could identify with was Black Caesar,
Yes.
Hell Up in Harlem.
Yes.
Iconic films, and I just like the character that he put out there was just so powerful, and man, I can go on. I mean, he's a hero to me in film. Michael Woods, working in Hong Kong film, I thought I was actually the only brother.
No.
However, there was a brother out there that was just as good, if not better. And I was honored to finally meet him over the past couple of years. I've admired his work for many years. He's done a ton of films working with Donnie Yen. He trained under Donnie Yen's mother. And you guys know Donnie is the man. The Ip Man movies have revolutionized how we view martial arts films right now. So there is one caveat here. The gentleman at the end here is my business partner, Robert Jefferson. He's been with me 30 years. He writes, produces, and I couldn't do what I do without him. But there is one wish that I still have left on my career that hasn't been done, and that is to work with Don the Dragon Wilson.
Oh, I'll say it for
So
everybody.
I would love to.
We are going to work together. The next chance I get, now you may have to die an honorable death.
I love it.
Fred, you can tell what happens. Everybody works with me.
Right.
You take a bullet or something.
But I got a couple of footnotes, no pun intended, to look out for. Okay?
Kick it in the head.
That was good.
I did work with Don the Dragon. He mentioned 2 films. He forgot to tell you about the second film. My rule is you cannot kill me in a film, and I have to win my fights. Don wanted to break that rule. Guys rush into the room, and I'm shooting, and they're shooting, and I fall against the wall, and I'm saying my words, and then he's in the background saying, "Close your eyes." I said, "No way, Don. I'm not dying here." So we finished the scene, I'm getting dressed, and him and his business partner and his brother and his sister and his cousin and his mother came into the room and says, "Hammer, you gotta close your eyes, we gotta have you die." I said, "Man, get out. It ain't happening." "Well, we'll give you $20, $5,000 more, $8,000 more." You're not listening to me, homie. I am not for sale. This is Don Dragon, the second movie, wanted to kill the Hammer. It ain't happening, people. I didn't mention my third rule. I get the girl at the end of the movie if I want.
I want to be the Hammer.
We all want
When I'm working for Hollywood, I know I'm only going to get 2 of those. And they're going to kill me, and I'm going to win my fights. But if I'm doing mine, I'm getting all 3. So that's my experience with Don the Dragon.
his experience with you. There you go. Michael,
I'm sorry, I really don't have a story to tell.
tell them about yourself then.
I worked with Vincent Lyn on a movie called Tiger Cage, but we didn't get to spend a lot of time together. And Bobby Samuels, I got to see his work after. Same with Don the Dragon Wilson, I followed his movies. Fred Williamson, I got all his movies in my VHS collection. I just met this brother here, so maybe next year I'll have a story to tell. Maybe these guys will send out a Facebook shop and I say hello to them and we can make some history.
Okay, Michael, keep the mic because you're at the end of the line.
Can I say something about
Sure,
Michael?
absolutely.
Michael is one of the most humble, soft-spoken persons I know, especially in this kind of ego-driven industry. Thank you. I do remember one thing on Tiger Cage. We were practicing some choreography, and I don't know if you remember this, Michael, but The famous kick that you've done in quite a few films where you do that flying jump side kick into a jump spinning back kick, right? All in midair. You actually were practicing that with me one evening. And I had no padding on or anything. And it's amazing, the control, jumped up, first kick, boom, second kick, hit me, just touch, just that. Amazing. So he's, yeah, very skillful, but one of the most soft-spoken persons I know.
Yeah. Now, since you got at the end of the line, tell me why you got into the business, what led you to do this incredible thing, to make this decision to go to Hong Kong and become part of Hong Kong cinema, and what are your finest memories? And we'll go back in terms of each person's career, but go for it.
Well, actually, I never really wanted to do movies at all. I was studying at CWRI, Donnie Yen's mother school.
Yeah.
I'll just say I was like a street cat, and I was just sort of doing that on the side. So I was into fighting. I got into a lot of street fights and things of that nature coming up. Donnie Yen at that time was 15. He was impressed with fighting, but his mother allowed no fighting in the school at all, would not teach any fighting, and she forbidden him actually to go and to study fighting anywhere else. I started hanging with Donnie. I was a few years older than him. I used to go to a place, Boston Taekwondo, and a couple of boxing gyms, and experiment with different things. So Donnie started sneaking out and going with me, and I mean, that's how sort of our friendship got. He went there, he did a couple of movies, wasn't too successful, because he sort of had the reputation of having a bad attitude. So he came back to Boston, he worked in a restaurant, Wei, and at that time, I was doing a lot of trick kicking before it became tricking or any of that. We're going back over 30 years now, and he liked it. I taught him some stuff, and he went back to Hong Kong to do a film with Yuen Wo Ping. He told Yuen Wo Ping about me, they invited me, and I agreed, not knowing what filmmaking was all about. 16-hour days, standing there in a tank top and maybe not getting to shoot a shot. Donnie Yen is, I have nothing bad to say about Donnie Yen. He's my most favorite person on the planet, but he lays it into you. He don't hold back. He has a reputation all through Hong Kong. He destroys the stuntmen and the whole bit. And he has to be happy with the take that he gets. So in Tiger Cage, we were fighting on a pier. He was hitting me with a crescent kick in the side of the head, actually making contact. We ended up doing 23 takes, and then the side of my face was swollen out, and Yuen Wo Ping said, no, that's it, no more, no more. Donnie wasn't happy with his performance. Yuen Wo Ping's assistant, Fish, came to me a few days later and said, you know what, I have some bad news for you. I said, what's that? He said, they used the second take.
And that was quite normal in terms of doing the second or third take.
Yeah.
Of course, Jackie Chan's famous for that.
Oh, yeah. But you stayed after that?
No, actually, I didn't stay.
No?
I had a different situation than these fellas here. Like I said, I was a street cat, so I wasn't fitting in with those. I had a bad attitude and some other different things. So what I would do is, I would go there, film the movie, and then I come back right away and get back into doing whatever I'm doing. Tiger Cage, I guess, did all right, because they called me for another one, and then another one, and I did 6 or 7 of them, but I got really sick in Hong Kong. I got seafood poisoning, so I lost a lot of weight, and I decided, nah, I'm done with this. I didn't really want to do anything else. But then I had an opportunity to work on a TV series in Germany, so I went and did that. And from that, I went to Blade 2 in Prague. And then I just said, you know, I'm sort of done with it. Basically, for me, there was no money in it.
Oh, man.
You get paid $5,000 a week or whatever it is. 30 years ago, that's good. But when you come back home, you have to pay, catch up your rent, catch up everything. Just wasn't happening, so I'd always have to go find another job and the whole bit, so.
Well, now, Fred, I know the story, but I don't know if they know the story. How'd you get into the game, and what's some of your fondest memories of the movies? Still.
You don't have that much time, man.
Yeah. You can make it. We'll start in Chicago.
I was a thug in Chicago. I was a street ganger. I was part of the Blackstone Rangers in Chicago. So I'm an original thug who wore a chain for a belt and just kicked the shit out of people. It was a white Irish cop that stopped me on the street one day and said, son, I'm gonna take you someplace where you can get rid of all this animosity. And I was a junior in high school, so he took me to the football coach. Wanted me to play football. I didn't want to play football. Get my face messed up. Hurt his face? No. But they convinced me, okay? So all I did was hit people, kick them, bite them. And they said, no, that's not how we play this game. So they showed me how to play the game. And I found a legal way to kick people's ass on the football field. And it worked out for me. But back in the day, you had to take a letter home to your parents for them to sign. So if you got hurt, the school would not be responsible for taking care of you. So I knew my mom wouldn't sign it, so I forged her name on the letter so I could play. Now, to make my lie work, because I came home late every day from school, she said, what are you doing? I said, I'm studying. I'm in study hall studying. So to make my lie work, I really had to study. So when I graduated from high school, my senior year, I was number 2 in my graduation class. I was almost a straight A student. Now because I was trying to do that, I just wanted to make my lie work. Consequently, I was able to go to any college that I wanted to go to, because they were all after a student and an athlete. So I went, being from Chicago, the Big Ten schools came after me, Indiana, University, all that. But they made a mistake. They send, each time they came to visit me and I go to the campus, they brought 4 brothers to take me around in the ghetto to show me that I would be comfortable, would be no problem, you could hang here. And you gotta realize this is like 50s, man, you know, like it was really racial. But they're gonna show me how I could be cool here because they had a ghetto. And I looked at each one and I said, man, I know this world. I know how to do this. Let me take you to Chicago. I can show you the same thing. I wanna learn 2 languages. Yo, what's up, dog? And good morning, sir. How are you? So Northwestern came and they took me down Sheridan Road in a limousine, first limousine I've ever been in. And I saw these big mansion houses and I saw a character, you know, the Ruby, little brother out there with the ruby red lips holding on to 2 carriages. I said, wow, this is where I want to be, man, right where they don't want me. That's my character, that's my motivation in life, that's my motivation in the film business. Do something that they don't want me to do. That's my motivation. So consequently, I've made 85 movies, I've directed about 50, I've written about 40. I've killed so many people, I've only been wounded a few times. You didn't kill Eastwood, you didn't kill Bronson, when the hell you want to kill me? If you want to kill me and have Schwarzenegger avenge my death, kill Schwarzenegger, let me avenge his death. So I started making my own movies. 1973, I formed my own company. My first movie I did for the major studio was MASH. I played Spear Trucker in MASH. And I said, shit, this is easy, man. I should have been doing this a long time ago. So I went to Paramount and I said, I want to do a movie for $500,000. He said, you can't do a movie for $500,000. This is 1970. I said, give me $500,000, I can make it. He said, okay, what do you want to do? I want to make a Western. We'll call it A Legend of Nigger Charlie. Now understand, I had a plan. I mean, I've always planned everything I've ever done in my life. I've always been a role model. I've always been the guy in the school, you know, if there was a problem, they came to the Hammer. Because the Hammer would take you out, or get his buddies and take you out. So I've always been that kind of guy. When I come out of football and going to the movies, I was not going to lose that image. The same image I do in life is the same image I present on the screen. You'd be surprised how many brothers like him, other brothers see me in the airport and they says, man, I hate your guts, man. I said, why, what's the problem? He says, my father used to talk about you all the time. Be like the Hammer, get an education, be your own man, do your own thing. I hear it all the time. For me, it's very uplifting because that's my motive. That's why I do it. And that's why I will never be killed in the movie and will never lose my fights in the movie because I know what I represent. And that's a big responsibility because I'm not just an actor doing a part. I represent blackness. I represent what brothers and sisters see in me. And I know that I could never go down with that kind of image because I would never be able to explain to a brother as I'm walking down the street and he come up to me and says, Hammer, you let that little guy beat you up. Can't explain that. I mean, why? I gotta say because I made a lot of money? That's bullshit. It's not about the money. For me, it's about the image, and I will uphold it and be a brother till the end.
There you go. Bobby, I'm so sorry, Bobby. You gotta follow that.
Oh, I can't follow that.
Yeah, that's what I figured. But I know stuff about you. I know how you started, that you made a decision on the basis of being inspired by Bruce Lee and the Shaw Brothers films, that you were going to be part of that world.
Yes, that's correct. I saw a film years ago called Five Fingers of Death with the gentleman, Lole, Georgie Howe. And that film had an indelible impression upon me. When I left the theater that day, I said, not only do I want to work in that business, but I want to work with the guy that I saw on screen. Ironic, 20 years later, the first film that I did in Asia was with him. So it really came tenfold at that point. Consequently, after that, then through a couple of contacts at Shaw Brothers, I managed to link up with Sammo Hung. He took myself and Colin Cho under his wing, and we became his only two students. Colin Cho was from The Matrix, played Seraph. So we were his only two students at the time. Both same birthday, same age, so it's pretty cool. I love the guy dearly. And worked with Sammo Hung, Yen Wu Ping, a number of prolific Hong Kong directors, so I've been very fortunate being the only African American. After a number of years doing action films, finally I was offered a role to do a dramatic film in Hong Kong. It was actually the first time they ever offered an African American to do a drama piece in Hong Kong, and first time I had an on-screen romance with an Asian woman, so, and the only time since then.
Now, Vince, we can choose a lot of things with Vincent. I guess we should stick to the action stuff, though. Now, I mean, the crowning. How did you get the part in Operation Condor with Jackie Chan?
Along with Michael and many other Hong Kong stars, obviously Tiger Kid was the first film we did. And it was very, successful throughout Asia. But 19 films later, and about 5 years later, I got a call that Jackie Chan was auditioning basically every Guai-Lo in Hong Kong.
Foreign devil, that's what that means.
The round-eyed devil. I went up for the audition. I was actually working on 2 other films at the same time, and spent, about 6 hours jumping through hoops and flying over tables and choreography, this, that. And I didn't actually initially get chosen for it. And it wasn't until about 6 months later when everything that could go wrong with the movie went wrong with Operation Condor. That's why it's been called Jackie Chan's Apocalypse Now. Sets were being blown away and cameras were melting in the Sahara, and lots of money was being wasted and so forth. And it was then they called me up, and I came into the office at Golden Harvest, and I said, well, how many days do you need me for? They said, well, we're going to need you for 10. So we'll sign this contract. And Condor was the only legitimate contract I actually signed. Everything else was, they just paid by the day as you came in. And I said, okay, fine. So they paid me half up front and half at the end. But the first 10 days I actually spent only in makeup, because I met Jackie Chan, and I had met him many years before, and he says, you're too handsome to be a villain. We're going to make you look really ugly. So went into makeup. I had no idea really what they were doing. And so they just started, putting stuff on my face and And Jackie would come down 3 days later and look around the corner at me and says, no, he's not ugly enough, make him more ugly. A few more days. After 10 days, he was finally happy with the makeup. And that's how it began. But what was a 10-day contract, they wanted to re-sign another contract. And I said, no, I don't want to sign another contract. I tell you what, just pay me every day I'm here. At the end of the day, when I'm finished, just give me my money. And 9 months later, we finished it again.
With a lot of money in your pocket.
And a lot of makeup.
Right, with a lot of makeup, a lot of kicks in the head from Don the Dragon. And now, speaking of Don the Dragon, yes. How did you become Don the Dragon in real martial arts and in movies?
Well, in real martial arts, I studied the dragon style of Kung Fu, and I started in '72, and my brother was my instructor. It was Daniel K. Pai, which was his style. And I fought the first kickboxing match in the East Coast, which was 1974. Right after they did the PKA here in, well, not here, but in LA, I did the first fights, my brother promoted it. And at the fight, I was not known as the Dragon then, I had no fight name. The ring announcer came in and said, what's your fight name? And I said, well, what is that? He said, you know, Smoking Joe Frazier, Marvelous and Marvin Hagler, whatever the fighters were back then, they had kind of fight names. So I thought about it for about 5 seconds, and I said the Dragon, and that was 74, it's followed me all my life. So I always tell people, be careful what you say, it may follow you your whole life. But I never got into kickboxing to be an actor. How many kickboxing world champions have starred in 30 movies? Well, but only one. So it's not like you go into kickboxing, you become famous, then you got a movie career right afterwards. It doesn't work that way. Chuck Norris was the one who gave me the idea. He used to go to my fights in the 70s. Even that early, we became friends, and he went to my fights, and he was doing films way before Walker, Texas Ranger. And Chuck said it turned out to be a good second career for him. And he was one of the only people in the film industry at the time, well, even today, who was famous as a martial artist before he did one line of dialogue. Now, these other actors, the Chinese actors, great movie actors, but as fighters, as competitors, as fighting championships all over the world, that's not how they got their start. Chuck did. Bruce Lee put him in, I believe it was Return of the Dragon?
Yes.
Okay. Well, Way of the Dragon. Bruce Lee wanted to fight a real martial artist. You know, that's kind of different, isn't it? Most martial artists will get a stuntman and beat up the stuntman in the movie, and that's the fight. He got a guy who'd never been on film, Chuck Norris. But he was the top dog in his day. So after he did the scene with Bruce Lee, he started getting recognized, and he thought maybe he could have a career. And I believe his first 3 films, he raised the money himself. So he was a self-starter, and he suggested it for me, and I retired the first time in kickboxing in '84 and moved out to LA in '85. And I found out really fast, they were not looking for 6-foot-tall Asians with Southern accents. There were no starring roles for the Dragon when I came out to LA. I was always getting the bad guy roles. I was on General Hospital for 3 months as a bad guy, or the guy who dropped a plate full of spaghetti, or rice, actually. and you know, I would be like a waiter or something like that. And so I told my agent, I don't want to go audition unless it's a starring role of the movie. And guess what? That was the end of my phone calls from my agent. I had not heard from him for like over a year. But I will say, Van Damme with Bloodsport revived the whole genre. And I got called soon after Bloodsport came out for a movie called Blood Fist. And I went in, met Roger Corman, I ended up doing 12 movies with him. And any of you, if you're film students at all, you know Roger Corman is known to be the most prolific filmmaker in the world. Over 1,000 films, I believe, at this point. And yeah, if you do 12 successful films in a row for Roger Corman and you don't have a career, you have to do something really major wrong. And so it was Chuck Norris and then Roger Corman, and you know, I'm just a lucky guy, basically. I had a career in show business.
Now, as you can tell, we could have an hour panel with each of these gentlemen. They're all, so any questions for any of them? Anybody? We're going to open to questions? Yes.
I don't have a question or anything. I'm a child of the 60s and the 70s, and I just want to say to Mr. Williamson that it's an honor to be in the room with you, and what you said about our blackness and our dignity, it came across really well when I was a child, and it's my honor to be in this room with you, sir. Thank you.
I was just thinking, mean, how about you all do a movie together, sort of like how they did with the Expendables?
Yes.
Well, I'm working on that. We got a script. I'm gonna be asking everybody I know to be in the movie. I'm gonna try to get them all in there, like.
Thing was put on him. When that car did that turn, I mean, it was like, he must have been going at, I don't know, 40 miles an hour. You see this guy get hit, he goes up in the air, you see it in slow motion, and he's landing on the concrete, busted up, taken to the hospital. Next stuntman, suit him up, we're gonna do it again. It happened 3 times. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. You
Yeah.
decide.
You decide. What do you
Which
think?
is better.
Yeah.
Well, I could say one thing about the whole industry. As a professional fighter, I knocked out 48 trained professional kickboxers. There was no choreography, there was no script, and they were trying to knock me out. I take pride in that, but hurting a stuntman, I would be embarrassed. To me, the skill of doing a movie is not the Hong Kong style where I'm going to do a fight scene and I'm supposed to kick you in the face, I'm going to kick you in the face. No, it's to make it look like I kicked you with the timing, with the skill, and never touch you. I say in the beginning of every movie, in fact this last one, to all the stuntmen, I said, all you guys, the first concern is safety. Not for me, I said your own safety. If anybody gets hurt, I want it to be me on this set. Now, unfortunately, I said if there's any blood, I want it to be mine. Sure enough, a stunt guy, the stick broke, the stick came, hit me right in the face, and blood was all over the place. So I might have jinxed myself. But I do, right. Well, I didn't wish for it. I said, if it happens, let it be me, not one of you guys. I'm not going to put a mark on them. Now, it was a funny story I told about Cynthia Rothrock at her roast. I had known nothing bad about her, but the only thing I'd say is she learned by the Hong Kong style. So I show up, I got a fight scene with Cynthia Rothrock in what we call the Bat Cave. Not because it looked like Batman's cave, it's because it was full of thousands of bats. So I have a fight scene with Cynthia. She looks at me, as soon as I come in, I was decided, you know what, I'm an older actor, but you know I'm gonna show a little skin in the final fight scene. I show up and I decide I'm gonna wear a tank top. And she goes, you gonna wear that in our fight scene? I said, yeah, I'm gonna wear it. She goes, okay. So she puts on this long sleeve thing, she's putting pads, elbow pads. She padded all up. Then her character is using weapons. So the first time she's supposed to hit me in the arm, the first thing she attacks me with, so she's hitting me in the arm, and they're putting makeup on to make a big bruise there. And then at a certain point, after a certain number of takes, the makeup artist would run up and look and go, all right. And they didn't need it. I was getting beaten up. Now, you know what? A normal guy without a big ego, like I must have had that day, would have said to the stunt coordinator, could you talk to Cynthia Rothrock and ask her to lighten up a little? Because I didn't want to go. I'm the professional kickboxer. I'm going to go to Cynthia Rothrock because she trained in the Chinese style. They believe in contact. She was all padded up. I had nothing. And I will say, not anything derogatory about her. That's just the way she works. That it's tougher the way these guys did it. By far. I did one fight scene with Cynthia Rothrock. I was crying like a baby. These guys are doing. He's getting busted up in the head. They're getting bruised, cracked ribs, probably all the injuries. And that's just the day at work for their shot.
Can I just say one thing? I did a film with Cynthia called Blonde Fury. And Cynthia and I have been friends for 30 years. We've actually, well, you've traveled the world with her. I've traveled the world with her too. And we did this scene where she has to do her famous scorpion kick, which she goes over the head and hits me right on the top of the head. But at the same time, she has me down, and then she performs this scoop kick, and I'm supposed to get hit in the groin, right? So I'm saying, okay, Cynthia's got amazing control, but she can't see performing the scoop kick to my groin. So I said, it's a blind technique, yeah. So I'm thinking, okay, man, this is gonna come underneath, this is gonna hurt like a bitch. So I said, okay, we're gonna need some padding, but you could, okay, put the supporter on, put the groin cup on, but that's just not enough. So what they do, and this is Hong Kong, right? They don't actually think, okay, scientifically, get some toilet paper, right? So they get a toilet roll, and they start unwrapping the toilet roll. And I'm supposed to stuff it down my pants and get it underneath, wedge it underneath, right? So I said, okay, Cynthia, let's just try a little, quarter power. So she comes up and I said, no, whoa. Let me get some more, get some more toilet paper. So by the end of it, it's down here. But the shot worked.
The shot worked. Well, wasn't that worth going overtime for?
Yeah, sorry.
That was all right. That was awesome. Give these people a huge round of applause. Go to their tables, find fabulous interviews, and thank you so much for coming.
Thank you.
Thank you.